Reddit, what is the most mind-boggling fact you know? In World War II, a Hungarian mathematician named Abraham Wald developed a counterintuitive method for armor plate placement while studying damaged aircraft. He observed planes returning home from sorties with large holes in them, and was tasked with figuring out where to put armor plates. His crucial insight was to not put armor plates where the holes were. The holes in the aircraft that returned represented damage that did not impact the ability of the planes to return home. In other words, he made the critical observation of the bias in the data he was observing. He was only looking at planes that survived. With this knowledge, he instructed armor to be placed in areas that were not damaged, because if these areas were hit, there would be no damage in that component in the planes that returned home. The inscription on the One Ring from Lord of the Rings is not actually Elvish, which quite a few people mistake it to be, but an entirely different language that Tolkien created called the Black Speech of Mordor or Orcish. Tolkien has stated that he came up with the Black Speech by thinking of the most horrible things in his life, in particular his experiences from World War I. Which is why when you hear the Black Speech, such as when Sauron speaks it in LOTR and The Hobbit, it sounds like a dialect sent straight from hell. He grew to be disgusted by the language he created so much that when a fan sent him a wine goblet with the One Ring's inscription on it as a gift, he used it as an ashtray. All of the solid objects around me are actually vibrating. Saudi Arabia imports sand and camels from Australia. 43% of all people born prior to 1800 died before the age of 5. People have graffitied dicks onto the Great Wall of China that have existed for longer than the USA. Cicadas live underground for several years and emerge only to reproduce. The number of years they take to come above ground is mostly a prime number. Each species has its own prime number of years they stay underground. The reason to be a prime number is that it reduces drastically the chance of two different species meeting above ground in the same year and crossbreed, weakening the genes of both species. Edit, as several people pointed out, crossbreeding might be actually good for the evolution on the long run. However, each species is already refining their genes for ages. If they crossbreed, they have to start over the whole process. Edit, another reason for the weird reproduction cycle is avoiding predators and competition among species. According to some replies, Indiana legislators tried to legally define pi as 3. 2. Barring how stupid that is. Why 3? 2 instead of 3. 1. Which would be the proper rounded number with 2 digits. In the mid-1880s, aluminum was more valuable than gold. Now we use it expendably to wrap food. North American area codes were originally assigned based on population size and the ease of dialing on a rotary phone. 212 went to New York. Fastest dial time possible for the most phoned area. 312 for Chicago. Alaska got 907. Mind you, this was when only 1 or 0 could be the middle digit in an area code. If you add up your area code with 0 being 10, you get a numerical ranking of your city-state's relative importance, if you will. This is no longer true as any 3 numbers can be used for an area code, so these original area codes, like rotary phones, are a relic of the past. Edit. I had a couple area codes close but incorrect. My apologies. Thanks for the comment corrections, folks. Olympus Mons on Mars, the tallest known mountain in the solar system, is so large at its base that an observer on its peak wouldn't know he was standing on a mountain because its slope would be obscured by the curvature of the planet itself. Edit. The placebo effect can still happen when you know you're taking a placebo. That if sound waves could travel through space, the sun burning would sound as loud as a chainsaw at about 10 meters. There is microscopic organism called a tardigrade, also water bear, which can survive extreme environments, including the vacuum of space, by dehydrating its body and basically putting itself into stasis. Then, when conditions improve, It absorbs some water and goes back to doing whatever it does. Male Irish mummies are often found with nipple mutilations, leading many experts to believe Irish leaders may have worn nipple rings, as kissing a king's nipple was believed to be a sign of respect. Common male Irish mummies. They're called daddies. A supernova seen from the distance the sun is to the earth will be brighter, in terms of energy delivered to your retina, than a hydrogen bomb pressed against your eyeball. We could assign an IPv6 address to every atom on the surface of the earth. From the time that it was discovered, 1930, to the time that it was declassified as a planet, 2006, Pluto made less than a third of a full revolution around the sun. Quartz landed in South America or the New World and spread diseases that after 80 years killed 21 million natives. 21 million people in 80 years. That's 262. 500 people dying annually. 730 people dying daily and 30 people hourly. For 80 years straight. There are more atoms in a teaspoon of water than there are teaspoons of water in the Atlantic. That in World War II, an American airman by the name of Alan McGee survived a free fall from 22,000 feet without a parachute and becoming a prisoner of war for 2 years. In 1943 he was in a B-17 making a bombing run over France when plane's wing was shot off by German fighters. As the plane entered a spin he leapt out without a parachute and immediately lost consciousness from the altitude. After falling 4 miles he crashed through the glass ceiling of the street, Nazaire Railroad station and onto the floor below where he was captured as a prisoner of war. He suffered almost 30 shrapnel wounds, several broken bones, severe damage to his nose, eyes, lungs, kidneys, and his right arm was nearly severed off. His captors treated him back to health. He was liberated in 1945 and awarded an Air Medal and a Purple Heart. Edit. Imagine being a prisoner of war for 2 years after surviving that. Guys, I fell out of a bomber at 22,000 feet and I'm alive. Can you just let me go please? There's a place in the universe called the Eridanus Supervoid that's a billion light years across. When you speak inside your mind, small muscles in your throat mimic the formation of each word. Eels actually have 2 jaws. The first being like a normal jaw. The second being hidden in their throat. The secondary jaw lunges forward when the eel bites down on prey. Bites down on the piece within the mouth and bites a chunk out of it, pulling it down the throat. Think about the alien in the movie Alien. The secondary mini mouth they use is based off an eel's anatomy. Edit. Thanks for my highest rated comment ever. : When the jaws open wide, and there's more jaws inside. The fact that recently a group of scientists went to investigate a forest of trees that were able to live for thousands of years on their own, and ended up finding traces of massive radiation in the very early rings of the trunks. All of them had this in the same spots, around the same time. Judging by the average age of the trees and the rings the radiation was located in, there was a battle involving the Crusaders, Des Vult BTW. And one of the soldiers' uncovered diaries had described seeing the image of the cross burning like fire in the sky, which had given them extra morale and then they won the battle. So, using logic, you can guess that this cross in the sky was what caused the radiation. And I can hear you thinking, how in the dot? Well, I can proudly tell you that literally no one knows. That France was still executing by guillotine during the first Star Wars movie. That humans almost went extinct 75,000 years ago. Betelgeuse is the 31st biggest star we know of in the universe. It is so big that if you replaced our sun and put Betelgeuse in its spot, Betelgeuse would almost reach Jupiter's orbit. Had to say it 3 times. Edit. WTF is happening? There is more bacteria living inside a single person's digestive system than the number of human beings who have ever existed in history. But what about a married person's digestive system? The rate of concussions is higher in women's college soccer than it is in men's college football. Can confirm. My girlfriend often uses her head more than I. There are roughly 200 corpses on Mount Everest that are used as waypoints for climbers. Take a left at Mr. Bones. The swimming pool on board the Titanic is still full. Edit. Well, holy crap. My first golden on a dad joke as well. Thanks, kind stranger. School buses used to be orange before they changed them to yellow for visibility. US. Coast Guard helicopters used to be yellow before they changed them to orange for visibility. How many Coast Guard helicopters were mistaken for school buses before they made the change? If you were being sucked into a black hole and could somehow stop, turn around and look back out into space, you could see the whole fate of the universe play out before your eyes due to time dilation. You could watch the birth and death of stars in the blink of an eye. It would be quite a light show. T. If you count how many times a cricket chirps in 15 seconds and add 37, you get the temperature in Fahrenheit. The McDonald's coffee lawsuit. The woman wasn't the one driving. The car was parked. She was in her late 70s. She sustained third-degree burns. The coffee melted her clothing and skin, which fused her legs together and her labia shut. She went into shock and nearly died. McDonald's had received hundreds of burn complaints already from serving their coffee at near boiling. They offered a lady $800. After 20 years of imagining some dummy scalding herself while driving. This was pretty mind-boggling. That's despite what they might have you believe. Literally no one has ever had their mind blown by a BuzzFeed article. The longest piece of literature in the English language is 3.5 million words long and counting. Is written by a 21-year-old guy in Arizona and is a fanfiction of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Edit. Apparently, mammoth roamed the world when the pyramids were being built. The comments section here reads out like a Source episode transcript. Nice try, BuzzFeed. Alternate personalities can be so profoundly powerful that for the sufferer separate personalities can have different eyeglass prescriptions. The moon can be seen from the Great Wall of China. We all have crippling Reddit addictions, whether you realize it or not. A trebuchet is far superior to a catapult. Let's see a catapult try to throw a 90-kilogram projectile over 300 meters. Edit. Phone typo. The 15 largest ships create more pollution than every car on the planet combined. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Dark matter isn't inert. It interacts with other dark matter. This means there could be dark atoms, dark molecules, dark planets, dark people. Over 90% of the universe is not observable. They're called African Americans, you racist. Most giraffe sex is gay. Toy dinosaurs are made from plastic. Plastic is made from oil. Oil is made from dead dinosaurs. Toy dinosaurs are made from real dinosaurs. The amount of ways to arrange a deck of cards is 52. That means that if you shuffle a deck of cards, you are very likely to be the first person to shuffle it in that order ever. How much is 52? Question mark. Imagine standing on the equator and every minute taking a step forward. Once you finish a lap, you take a drop out of the ocean and start again. Once you've taken all the water on Earth, you lay a piece of paper on the ground and refill all the oceans and start again. You continue stacking paper like that. By the time the stack of paper reaches the sun, the amount of seconds that passed since you started is still many order of magnitude away from 52. 52 doesn't seem like very many, and why are you shouting? There is no reason why the alphabet is in that specific order. Yes, it is. It's because of that song's lyrics. Cleopatra lived closer to today than to the time the pyramids were built. Also, Oxford University was founded before the Aztec Empire. That in order for our quantum physics equations to work out, we have to assume that the vacuum has an energy density of 10 circumflex 113 joules per cubic meter. If we took 1 cubic centimeter of empty space, no atoms necessary, and converted the energy into mass, that tiny little cube would be more massive than the universe by about 40 orders of magnitude. In the 50s, when it was still okay to smoke in a courthouse, a lawyer might put a wire in his cigarette. That way, if the defense was really taking it to you, the jury would get distracted by your magical cigarette that never ashes. Case closed. Cactuses are not people asking for a hug. I learned the easy way. There was a molasses flood in Boston that killed about 25 people. Corners were cut when building a molasses container at the top of a hill, and when it burst there were waves of molasses drowning people in the streets. There are more stars in the sky than grains of sand on our planet. In some parts of the world water naturally flows uphill. Pretty rare though. The country that exports the most soy sauce around the world isn't an Asian country. It is the Netherlands. Human female breasts are much bigger and curvier than animal breasts because of the evolution of the human nose. As the nose developed in Homo sapiens and previous species, the breast needed to be bigger and branch further out the chest so that the baby infant could actually manage to suck on the nipple. Thanks, nose. The United States has more aircraft carriers than every other country combined. The United States has the biggest and second biggest air force in the world. If you took the United States military funding and cut it in half, it would still be the largest military spending in the world. America likes guns. Because of the double slit experiment, it's now plausible to hypothesize that energy only forms into matter when it is being observed. Humans have about a quarter-second response time to visual stimulus. We experience the world with a 250 millisecond ping. That the actual quote Vader says in Empire is no. I am your father and not Luke. If you feed a seagull or Alka-Seltzer it will blow up. Sounds like a dare more than anything. Alaska is the United States' northern, western and easternmost state. That everything in the entire universe is either a banana or not a banana. The president of the U.S. is in the WWE Hall of Fame. You are closer, in time, to seeing a Tyrannosaurus Rex than a Tyrannosaurus Rex was to seeing a Stegosaurus. The Stegosaurus lived 150 million years ago. Not once in the Humpty Dumpty nursery rhyme does it mention that he's an egg. RAP stands for Rhythm Assisted Poetry. The biggest tire manufacturer in the world is Lego. In 2006 the Lego Group produced 15 billion individual pieces of Lego, which included 306 million tires. By 2011 Lego's annual production was increased to 381 million. More than twice as many as any of the other tire companies, including Bridgestone, Michelin, and Goodyear. Martin Luther King Jr. and Anne Frank were both born in 1929. We are the universe's way of experiencing itself. Hydrogen, if left on its own for long enough. Countries that are the 5 biggest arms manufacturers and exporters are all permanent members on the UN Security Council. You can walk from North Korea to Norway and only pass through one other country on the way. This thread is pure gold if you are Matthew Santoro. Statistically you have a 6.5% chance of living forever. However, this is based on flawed reasoning that comes from the fact that only 93.5% of people who have ever been alive have already died. The random events, the accidents, and the conscious decisions that took place just to get me here. I just think of my own life and how I would have a totally different wife and kids if my dad didn't take XX job in XX city. Or if my parents didn't get divorced. Or of course me not even being here at all if they didn't have sex that night I was conceived. Etc. What if mom had a headache that night or dad said something wrong at dinner? Or what if he did and it was the makeup SX that really got me here? Then multiply all those possibilities times each preceding generation and thousands of years of ancestry and humanity. Comma. Each one of us is a miracle resulting from a combination of events whose odds I can't even fathom. Bears eat beets. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Pneumon ultramicroscopic silica volcaniconiosis is a lung disease you can get from breathing in volcanic ash. It's also the longest word in the English language. Skimmed re-eyed over that word. Donald J. Trump is President of the United States of America. There are more trees in the Milky Way than there are stars on Earth. There are more Milky Ways at the local gas station than there are trees in my backyard. The Atlanta Falcons managed to blow a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl. Mountains are all roughly the same shape, tall and pointy and triangular. Silicate, which is the mineral that most mountains are made of, at an atomic level is roughly the same shape as the mountain it makes. So if all of the atoms were corn on the cob shaped, we'd have mountains on the cob. If the sun exploded we wouldn't know for 8 minutes. 8 minutes of sunshine from a star that wouldn't exist. A polar bear liver contains so much vitamin A. If you ate one you would overdose on vitamin A and die. I guess I can't really call this a fact, but boggling is never done to anything except the mind. That there are more than 2,000 known gods no one believes anymore. I could single-handedly destroy this fact by believing in all of them. That everything exists despite all the odds against it. If you have 2 legs, you have more legs than average. Quoddy Head, Maine, is the closest place in the US to Africa at about 3,154 miles away. Giraffes and humans possess the same amount of neck bones. The same. Edit. The next person to suggest I use number in place of amount gets a shiny sticker. So it's easier to break a giraffe's neck. If you believe that you're truly 1 in a million, there are still approximately 184 more people out there just like you. The milk of a sperm whale is 98% milk fat and comes out with the consistency of toothpaste. Yum. Read that as the sperm of a whale and was even more concerned when you said yum than if I had read it properly. The pyramids of Giza had been around for 1,000 years by the time mammoths went extinct. According to every tale, Cleopatra was closer to cutting her hand in Django Unchained than Steve Buscemi was to landing the moon on World Trade Center. If you take someone's intestine and lay it out in a straight line, they will die. A blue whale's penis is so large that if you lay 2 of them end to end on a basketball court the game will be cancelled. To scale, the earth is smoother than a billiard ball. Astronomer here. The most powerful magnetic fields in the universe are from magnetars, which are neutron stars with crazy magnetic fields. How crazy? Well, on Earth, your typical magnet has a strength of about 1.25 Tesla. A magnetar will have 10 circumflex 10 Tesla. This is so strong that the magnetic field would literally kill you if you get within 1,000 kilometers of the magnetar by distorting the electrons in your body too much. Even more interesting. While there are some theories out there, no one really knows why these souped up magnetic fields exist at all. Neutron stars have tons of mysteries. Edit. Lots of people are asking what exactly happens to you. Basically all the electrons in the atoms in your body would be stripped away. So all the molecules would break apart. So you'd be ionized into a whiff of plasma. Basically. A small fraction of the static on your TV is radiation left over from the Big Bang. I hated that show. Gravity not a factor. Space is only an hour drive away. All the planets in our solar system, if places placed side by side, can fit in between the Earth and the Moon. Peggy Hill is the Texas State Boggle champion. The sun's core is so hot that a piece of it the size of a pinhead would give off enough heat to kill a person 99 miles away. Yet the surface of the sun is only 5,500 Celsius. The next layer, the chromosphere, is only 4,500 Celsius. Yet as it goes further out to the corona it jumps to 2 million C. I believe you only because you used a symbol. Longest confirmed sniper kill shot was about 700 yards. Just think about that for a second. You could think about that for a second. And still have time to dodge. The tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Voyager 1 has been traveling at a rough speed of 38,000 miles per hour. That's 17 kms or 11 ms per second. The damn thing does a marathon in under 3 seconds. And has been traveling in space since shortly after the first Star Wars movie came out in 1977. In the past 50 years. At this incredible speed, I know it likely varied in speed on some of its initial journey. Assuming a rough estimate, it has made it to a distance of about 8 billion kilometers, 7 billion miles, away from Earth. That's about 69,118 or astronomical units. Seems like a lot, right? It's only 0.001 light years of distance traveled. Now imagine 1 light year. Just think about how far something would travel in a whole year at the speed of light. The closest star, besides the sun, is 422 light years away. This is why we don't have aliens landing in our backyard and never will. Edit. Had my Oz converted wrong. First contact happens in April 2063. I have faith. Every time you shuffle a deck of cards you are most likely creating a sequence that has never existed before. In fact, if you shuffled a deck of cards once per second since the beginning of the universe with a guaranteed different sequence each time, you still wouldn't be close to achieving all of them. There are more possible outcomes than atoms in our galaxy. France's longest land border is with Brazil. Crocodiles are essentially immortal. Die not through old age, but because they become so large that feeding themselves sufficiently becomes too momentous a task and they starve to death. Are crazy ideas. Get a pet croc, then continually and carefully feed it forever to see how big it gets. Edit. Lake Placid was a movie. Got it. If 2 supermassive black holes collide and merge, one of 36 and one of 29 times the weight of the sun, you end up with a single black hole 62 times the mass of the sun, with the remaining 3 solar masses converted to energy. The mind-boggling bit is this. That's 3 times the weight of the sun, being the m in E equals mc2. The m is mass. In kilograms. The c is the speed of light. In meters per second. Squared. The e is energy. In joules. 1 joule will heat a kilogram of water, which is how much 1 liter weighs, by 1 degree Celsius. If it does it in 1 second, the reaction uses 1 watt of energy. The merging takes about 1/3 of a second.